Resurrecting the Land of Primeval Thule. Now, Primeval Thule is a setting that kind of went away. It came out in 2015 for D&D 5e and just disappeared. So I did a previous video on just resurrecting the world, the campaign setting. But now this video is going to be on how to resurrect the land of Primeval Thule. And we're going to look at what was the problems before in the Primeval Thule setting that didn't really attract people to it. So how can we improve those things in the land? This is Wisdom Hunter. Let's talk about resurrecting the land of Primeval Thule. One of the problems with Primeval Thule is that it was in an age of ice. There were glaciers that were expanding across the continent, and eventually these glaciers would cover the land and destroy the towns and everybody. So why was this a problem? For some, it is not motivating to play in a world that is being slowly and depressingly destroyed. It's like, what's the point in saving this world? There's a glacier that's going to take it over and just destroy it anyways. So there's like this depressing quality of a lot of the cultures seeing these glaciers expanding, destroying their lands. So it was depressing. Nothing they could do about it. So what's the fix? So you take away this idea of the age of ice and you just say that the glaciers are very high mountain ranges, like Mount Everest. So just giving the mountains great height improves the story of the world. The high mountains can be seen from 200 miles away. So a boat on the Chilean Sea has a view of very high mountains ringing the north of the lake, like the Kong Glacier. And even the Syrinx Glacier to the south can be seen from various lowland spots and from the Chilean Sea. So you just take away the age of ice and you replace it with these incredible mountain ranges that are breathtaking in their splendor. And it increases the captivating quality of the world. So if we look at the map, you'll see in these red circled areas all of the glaciers that are forming in the land of Primeval Thule. And so you can see that, you just transform these into very, very high mountain ranges like Mount Everest and other mountain ranges like the Andes, where the mountains can reach heights over 20,000 feet, maybe even 30,000 feet. You set the limits on how high these mountains can go. But if you're out in the middle of the Chilean Sea, you can see those mountain peaks 200 miles away. So you can navigate to those mountain peaks and know where you're going. And this is one of the advantages of super high mountain ranges, is it adds this depth of quality for navigation to the story. And then you go into the story that these huge mountains have stories and legends behind them of what they mean, who created them, and their power over the land. And you can also go up into these mountains and find all kinds of treasures and monsters and mysteries. And that's another thing, is that these huge mountain ranges create harsh environments for exploration, which is something you really want for very high level party members. And then of course, if you just take away this idea of glaciers and just put in these very high mountains, then you have this seasonal access that during the warmer parts of the year, they melt a little bit and you can gain easier access into these areas. So just by taking away this idea of glacier and putting in very high mountain ranges, you give the mountains more seasonal life so that you can access them from one season to another. And then in the winter, they close off because they're super cold, super windy, super stormy. You can't get in there. You have to wait. So what you really want to do when you're playing the game as like a GM is you want to really describe the landscape, because the landscape of Primeval Thule is breathtaking. It's just wide open wilderness. You have old growth forests, large lakes, super high mountains, cliffs, wide rivers, rocky mountains, pine forests. And then you see, like down here in the center, you see the fjords that like ring the continent. So to get into the continent from the sea, you have to go through these fjords, and this is what they look like. And you got these broad plains and grasslands and swamps. And so if you can get up to height, like, so let's say over here in one of these pictures where you can see these ruins out in the jungle, if you get up to the top on a clear day, you could actually see some of those high mountains that are called glaciers in the original setting, but now they're just high mountains with ice on top. So the idea is to really visualize the world, bring it out with inspirational descriptions. Let the players know, what do they see in this world? What does it look like? What does it feel like? How big are the mountains? The colors, the plants, the smells, the fog, the mist, the clouds, the sun, the sound of insects, animals. What do you see? What does it feel like as you're walking across the grassland, or you're walking through the jungles, or you're walking over the mountains. How does the view change as you go through these things? And this is one of the great aspects of Primeval Thule that really wasn't brought out in the original campaign setting. The campaign setting went into a lot about the cultures and people who lived there and the different histories, but it really didn't give you a sense of how breathtaking this world, this land, this continent is. And that's what really needed to be brought out in the original setting. And now to resurrect the land, really get into it, really see what these fjords look like, really see what these mists and clouds look like, and get into it. And now, the Chilean Sea. Now realize the Chilean Sea is 100 to 200 miles across. This is like Lake Superior in the USA. This Chilean Sea, is big enough that storms create large waves in the middle of the lake and on shore. So what you see here on this picture, this is Lake Superior in the United States. So the waves can actually be so big that they're crashing on the shoreline like the ocean because the lake is so big. And this is one of the things you need to keep in mind with the Chilean Sea, is that when there's a storm out there are these big waves going to come in and crash on the shore. So boats need protection in the harbors. And also if you're out on a boat in the Chilean Sea during a storm, the waves are going to get big and rocky. So you better have a good boat. So this is something to keep in mind with the Chilean Sea. It's not just this flat, calm lake. This is a real sea where storms can really kick up big waves. Keep that in mind. So eventually you just want to visualize in your mind flying over the Primeval Thule land. What does it look like? What do the different areas look like from up above as you're just flying over it? You're going to be seeing mountain peaks, rivers going through jungles, the highlands of Nar. You're going to be seeing ravines and canyons. You're going to be seeing the Quosa River that's so wide and big that boats can just go up and down it. So when the party of PCs comes up to the Quosa River, they're going to see this wide river that they're going to have to find a way to cross. Now in the original book of the campaign setting for Primeval Thule, it just said the Quosa River was wide. That's really about all it said about the Quosa River. But once you begin to picture what it was really like, it's massively wide. And the Quosa River actually goes for a couple hundred miles. So you really have to get a sense of how wide this river is. The book doesn't do it justice, and that was the problem with the original Primeval Thule, is that the descriptions of the landscape did not do the actual landscapes justice. And that's what this whole Resurrecting the Land of Primeval Thule is about, is really visualizing the grandness and the amazing massiveness of this land. Okay, this is Wisdom Hunter, and remember, whoever has the most fun wins.